Video game adaptations are often described as not being very good. I'd say, though, there are a good number of exceptions, especially adaptations of Japanese games by Japanese companies. Take, for example, Pokemon, Digimon, if you want to be technical and say those little toys are technically video games. The anime Street Fighter movie was really good. The Persona anime series are typically seen as pretty good. And even Yokai Watch is a top dollar kids show. And Metabots is still fondly remembered. So let's correct this thought that American adaptations tend to be the bad ones. I mean, you got Postal, Doom, Resident Evil, Prince of Persia, Silent Hill, Max Payne, the American Street Fighter. Though America is getting better, we did do Castlevania, so we're on the right path. We're trying to figure it out. But with that, you gotta think, why were they bad? What caused the production of these movies, the management of these movies, the direction of these movies to result in bad products? The base story of a lot of these games are really good, are really, really well loved and well regarded. So why are the movies crap? Well, it's obvious why they're kind of crap. First things first, when adapting a video game, you lose one of the core pieces of a video game, the interaction. The interaction causes a lot of metaphor and meaning to be stripped from a game, and if you can't put that back into a movie some way, somehow, a lot of it's just gone. You also got to think about this. A lot of the people who are making these movies don't want to put in the effort. They're not fans of the movies, they're just trying to make a quick buck. And because they're not putting in that effort and they just don't care, you get a boring, non-memorable movie. But here's the thing about Super Mario Bros. Movie. It doesn't fit that mold. Not really. The people who made it, the people who signed on to make it, were enthusiastic. They wanted to make the movie. And you could not describe the Super Mario Bros. Movie as non-memorable. It is one of the most memorable video game adaptations ever. Now, of course, many people will say that it's not remembered for good reasons, but I'll get to that in a second. The Mario Brothers movie is well loved. Either it's so bad it's good, or in my regards, it's just a good, campy sci-fi classic. Why? Why did this movie get such a polarizing reaction by everyone who sees it? Well, I think we need to go back in time to when the movies first started being produced. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, video games were hot. They were coming off of an American video game crash. So, video games are the hot commodity around. Why wouldn't Hollywood look at them and go, we could make something out of this? And if you look at video games, think you can make a movie out of it, why wouldn't you go with the most marketable, recognizable video game character out at the time, Mario? Well, they did. They got the rights, and they started taking in pitches. You got Wizard of Oz style stuff, Alice in Wonderland style stuff, a bunch of different concepts, but none of them quite stuck. None of them quite stuck the landing that they wanted this movie to be. But one day, a producer did see Max Headroom on TV, and he liked what he saw. So he contacted and brought on the creators of Max Headroom, Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. When they came on, they saw Mario and they went, okay, let's try and go for a darker tone. Now, you may say this is completely insane and asinine, and why would they do that? Well, look at the popular movies that were coming out right then that had an adult and kid focus. You had Tim Burton's Batman, and all of the gothic imagery that came along with it, and all of the macabre overtones and just the general story. And you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who directly adapted the very adult comic with adding some of the elements from the 1987 kids cartoon. It makes sense. Kids movies with a little bit of a darker edge were doing really good. And so, why not do it with Mario, a franchise that is being well loved and well regarded by kids and adults who played it? Also, with their experience in Max Headroom doing that exact kind of stuff, it made sense. Keep doing what you know, and it works. With that, you may go, okay, fine, it makes sense why they did it, but not how. Mario doesn't fit that aesthetic. Well, now he doesn't, because we've had years of video games to really solidify what Mario was, what Mario is. We know what he is now. He's fun, lighthearted, he's jazz music playing in the background, he's Mario. We know what Mario is, but think back to when this movie was being made. Movies take a long time to be made, and when the movie started production, Super Mario World wasn't even out. So all you had was Mario 1, Mario 2, and Mario 3. And they were adapting the first game. So what do? There's not enough material in the first game, but you don't want to just do all of it. But here's the thing. You could do the first game, but there was bonus elements there. Super Mario Bros. 1 had prequels. You forgot about them, didn't you? Donkey Kong, Wrecking Crew, and Mario Brothers. All those games technically still star Mario. And if you look at those games and look at the movie we got, it starts to make sense. Industrial design, much like a scaffolding, much like a construction site. Like Donkey Kong. A dilapidated nature that's broken and in disrepair, similar to as if a wrecking crew went through it. Underground, dank and dark environment, almost like a sewer that a couple of brothers would go through. The movie aesthetic makes total sense when you take these video games in regard to the adaptation. So, we got a source material that's perfect for a dark environment. People who are used to working with a dark environment do the Max Headroom, which, by the way, I started watching it because of making this video. Really good show! I'm gonna finish it after I make this video, and you shout go check it out. Shout Factory has a full DVD set of it. So the visual design has some kind of base in reality. It has a base in the video games itself. So taking other influences from things that could be similar, like Blade Runner, RoboCop, and of course, again, Max Headroom, you get this very interesting thing. It's dilapidated and dark, but it's still light and colorful. There's a lot of neon and a lot of bright colors because they were taking elements from cyberpunk aesthetics. Personally, I think the sets and prop design is some of the most creative, creating this blend of dark real-world dilapidation with a veneer of cuddly Mario-ness. It feels discontinuous, but it works within the context of the movie itself. In the costume design. People will rag on the Koopa and the Goomba all day long, but do not tell me you don't remember what they look like. They fit the movie that they're in. Yes, of course the Goomba doesn't look like a chestnut, and the Koopa vaguely in the face looks like a turtle. But they're an adaptation. It's not supposed to be a one-to-one direct thing. The designs are iconic in their own right, and should be valued for what they are in and of themselves. The way they adapted the Mario Brothers overalls also is great. Overalls are a goofy set of clothing, but turning it into coveralls and keeping the same general color pattern really gets the effect across, and it makes them look like Mario Brothers, but it also makes them look like ragtag groups of adventurers. Also, now that I know the connection between Max Headroom and this movie, Bowser looks a lot like Max Headroom, especially with the very crisp modeled hair, and the sardonic, sarcastic attitude that Dennis Hopper added to the character. And speaking of Dennis Hopper, the casting on this movie was top notch. The casting is probably one of the most solid parts of this movie. I mean, all you gotta do is look at the guy who played Mario, Bob Hoskins. He is a bigger guy, so of course he looks great for the role of Mario, but he's a friendly face. Again, perfect for Mario. And on top of it all off, he is an amazing actor. A kind of guy who can take all these wild and fantastical ideas and really give it a sense of reality just with his performance. Something that Mario needs. But you're also going to think about this. He is used to a special effects heavy production because he was in Roger Rabbit. So why wouldn't you bring him on to be Mario? It's very similar concepts and very similar things. It would work. And Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper is probably the epitome of a human version of Bowser. He fits and plays the role perfectly, especially with how Bowser has become cool and smooth in many regards in many versions of the games. I don't know, just something about Dennis Hopper playing that guy just fits. Playing Bowser fits. Also, I just want to give a shout out to the guy who plays Toad, because I love that. Maud Nixon, just shout out to that guy. Just shout, like, all of my heart, all of my love. But you read the horror stories of this production, you go like, okay, fine, it's well casted, but they were miserable. Yeah, they were miserable. I don't blame them. It was a botched production all the way through. They had one vision for the movie that everybody was agreed upon, and then all of a sudden, production cut their legs off. They were told to make it more child-friendly, which doesn't fit the sets, doesn't fit the general theme of what the movie was going for, so of course they're gonna be miserable. But here's the thing about good actors, they can act. So even if they did not care, even if they were miserable, even if John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins were drunk off their ass most of the production, they didn't show it. It doesn't feel like they were miserable. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of getting good actors for dumb roles. They can make them come to life. So, is this a failed adaptation? Yes and no. It's not a great adaptation. You look at the video game and you look at the movie, they could be farther apart. But is it a good movie? I'd say yeah. I really enjoy this movie. Mainly because I don't see it as just a Mario Brothers adaptation. It's an adaptation of Super Mario Bros. 1, of Donkey Kong, of Wrecking Crew, of Mario Brothers. It fits when you keep that in mind. It's fine if you don't like the movie. I completely understand that mindset. And I don't blame you. There's a lot of things that are kind of goofy and can probably put a lot of people off them. But I am glad it exists. I won't say it's my favorite movie or part of my favorite movies, but it's a good movie. And I know if I put it on, I'm gonna have a fun time. Because no matter what they did with the movie, it's still a couple of brothers who want to do what's right. And at the end of the day, that's all the Mario Brothers need to be. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun making it, especially due to Snickety, who, when I tweeted out that I was going to be making this video, said, hey, we're going to talk about Max Headroom, made me look into that, and really solidified what was kind of a herky-jerky flow. So, again, shout out, and thank you, Snickety Slice. Do the typical YouTube stuff you know what to do, like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of guff, all that kind of gaff. Follow me on Twitter if you want, at Boingo_writer. I talk about things. I have a Discord server. A link to that is in the description if you want to talk and hang out. Also, I have a podcast, Analytical Fanboys. It's on the Modular Media YouTube channel, where me and the Vacuuminator talk about a variety of pop culture subjects every episode. And we also starting a brand new podcast. It's called Modular Media Wrestling Podcast, where every month we talk about professional wrestling and what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, that whole kind of thing. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time.